What is pop? What is poppin'? It is the Slapton. I am but a lowly Slapton riding these DeFi waves, and this is Today in Crypto, where I give you all of the crypto news that is fit to go ape wild over. Now, keep in mind, I am but a lowly Slapton, which means I cannot give you financial advice. However, I can educate and hopefully even entertain, so without further ado, let it begin. Kevin O'Leary. So I had said in a previous video that I don't care what any one man thinks about crypto. I don't care what Elon thinks about crypto. I don't care what Bill Gates thinks about crypto. I don't care what Warren Buffett thinks about crypto. I hardly care what I think about crypto. But certainly I do care what the world thinks about crypto, because at the end of the day, this is a global, decentralized mission, this cryptocurrency thing. And if we are paying too much attention to this billionaire or this rich person, then I think we're undermining the value and the ethos of cryptocurrencies is the decentralization part. Now, the reason why I bring up this article is because he says good things about crypto. And I like crypto, so there's some bias there. And I'm going to be honest about that. But at the same time, if Kevin O'Leary moved to a negative position on crypto, it would not sway my conviction. What would sway my conviction is if everybody had a negative opinion about crypto and nobody saw utility in it, and I couldn't see utility in it. But why I do like Kevin O'Leary's opinion is because he's what I'd call a convert to the religion of crypto, I guess you could say. Kevin O'Leary was adamant against it when it first came out. He thought it was highly speculative, had no value, and essentially was a scam and a fad, and it would disappear. As it's gained legitimacy and staying power, he's changed his opinion. Now, it's not that I care that Kevin O'Leary is a particularly rich person. I don't. But the fact that he is somebody who has changed his opinion, and I believe in a sincere way, tells me that he's open-minded and can see both sides of an issue. Now, what Kevin O'Leary has brought up is that this current we call nightmarish crypto correction is actually good for the industry, and I happen to agree with him. So where we agree is that these bear markets you could think of as a culling of cryptocurrency projects that don't really have utility or value. They're too highly speculative. As an example, Bored Apes Yacht Club, which is exceedingly expensive JPEGs, lost 50% of their floor price, which I covered in a previous video. Things like Terra Luna that never should have existed before in the first place have since been erased from the crypto records. And better projects, or projects that are properly capitalized, that do have proper structure, like USDC Circle, which is their stablecoin, which is properly reserved, has proper reserve backing and fiat, is doing exceedingly well. In these lean times is where the good projects emerge, the stable projects, the proper projects, the projects that the markets deem valuable will emerge, and the highly speculative Moonboy stuff will disappear, which is wonderful because we don't want to build on highly speculative Moonboy stuff. And it's essentially what Mr. O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, I should say, said in this article. I will link to all of this, and you can use timestamps to skip around if you want. Also, leave a like and subscribe. I keep forgetting to say that because I'm terrible at self-promotion. So that's what he's saying, and very cool stuff because I happen to agree with every word he said. So yeah, I care what Kevin O'Leary says because I agree with him. Next story is about regulation. You can't get away from regulation these days, particularly after the events of Terra Luna, and this one focuses on the UK's regulatory aims at crypto and what it means. A couple things I'll pick out of this that I think are actually exceedingly bullish. One is that the UK is looking to reclassify stablecoins so that you will not have to pay capital gains taxes when you spend stablecoins, which will, in my opinion, make the adoption and the use of stablecoins explode. And the second thing is to create a task force, a crypto task force, to look at things like tax laws. Basically what Britain's trying to do, the UK is trying to do, is position themselves as a nexus of well-regulated, common sense regulated crypto sphere, right? The UK is no longer part of the EU, the European Union. They had Brexit. And if the UK is able to position themselves as forward-thinking, as aiding adoption, aiding innovation in this growing space, if they can bring the people, the innovators, the crypto innovators to the UK, that's good for them. And it looks like they're taking the necessary steps. So this is going to be interesting to see, is how does the UK position themselves versus the EU, and who will attract the most capital, the most brain capital. You know, this is something to think about. This is why regulators really need to understand that countries, zones, are actually in competition with each other to drive innovation, to drive investment, to drive smart people to come to their areas and create value. And there's no better way to do that, in my humble opinion, than right now with crypto. So I will link to this very cool stuff. Take a look at that. Along a similar line would be the Central African Republic, CAR, which was the second nation to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender, the first to do so in Africa. And they're putting forth this Sango, a crypto initiative. And this means a lot of things. So this would be like a crypto hub. So think of like an actual area where there would be like crypto investments, a physical location. They had mentioned that there'd be a crypto island, an actual crypto island that is represented, backed virtually in the metaverse, but it's actually physical land. They would be creating tax incentives to come to their Central African Republic. Again, another country that understands that there is money to be made in creating an accessible pathway for people who want to develop crypto projects, for people who are interested in crypto. Now, of course, the International Monetary Fund is none too fond of this. They're suggesting that this is going to be a problem. This is going to have too much volatility, because the last thing they want to see is people get off the dependence of fiat currencies produced by central banks. So, you know, these countries that really have nothing to lose because they've been victimized by these central banks for so long are saying, we don't care. We don't care what you think. You've put us in this situation, and we're going to get ourselves out. At least we're going to try. I mean, these are the stakeholders that are willing to take risks. And I keep saying this, it's going to be very interesting to see what these developing nations do and how it puts pressure on developed nations like the United States and the UK. Because if it turns out that places like the Central African Republic will allow citizenship through investment or tax incentives, you're going to see investment in those areas, particularly if you don't see these developed nations keep pace. If I'm an investor, if I'm an innovator and I want to spin up a project, and the UK, the US is going to give me a hard time economically, and the CAR is going to welcome me with open arms, I might have to think about going to the CAR or some other place, El Salvador or wherever. So these times, they are a-changing. And speaking of the European Central Bank, they are again warning that crypto risk could spill over into the wider economy. And this is exactly why regulation is coming, because we have reached a point where crypto is so big, there's so much money inside of it, that if it does fail now, it is going to leak into the TradFi markets and real estate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're seeing that with something with Luna, where $40 billion, which is no small amount. Of course, the United States just gave $40 billion to the Ukraine like it was nothing, but $40 billion, I would take it, is a significant amount of money to basically be lost. Now, I hate that word because money isn't lost. It's just transferred from investors to other investors, but you get the idea. So they're warning that this could spill into the wider economy, and they're right. And they should be concerned about this, and they should be thinking about regulation, but they should be thinking about regulation that isn't onerous or burdensome to the innovator, to the tech startup. They should be attracting those people. Regulation can do one of two things. It can pave the way, or it can stomp down. We want pave the way. We'll see, obviously. World Economic Forum 2022 is still going on. I love this story. It describes the crypto community as barbarians at the gate of the World Economic Forum. Crypto is no longer at the outside wanting to be recognized. Now it is literally storming these economic conferences. I talked yesterday about how there was a crypto main street. Basically, all of these crypto entities had set up shop on the main street outside of the World Economic Forum. I mean, they're even inside the World Economic Forum. You have major players who are inside that are giving panel lectures, etc. This is coming, whether we want it, whether they want it, whether anybody wants it or not. Crypto has arrived. It is a 1,000-headed hydra that will, I shouldn't say infect, that will find its way into everything it can find its way into. It's too late, right? So the barbarians at the gate. If you guys are fans of history, I love that metaphor. Ethereum. The Ethereum merge is coming. Well, it's been coming for a long time, but the idea is right now, I believe in August 2022 is when the main net will merge. You have 3 shadow nets right now, 3 test nets that are going to shadow merges with 3 test nets that are going to be merging. The first one, I believe, is June 8th, if my memory serves me correctly. And there's some consternation. There is some concern that this merge is going to create a dump, because what's happening right now is Ethereum, there's basically these staking contracts. So you could pre-stake Ethereum 2.0 in like Coinbase or something like that. And the idea is that when the merge happens, then all of these unlocked Ethereum 2.0 plus the rewards are going to flood the market and hurt the price. But that is honestly a misunderstanding of what's going to happen. The merge will not allow everyone to just dump their assets. The merge will create proof of stake, but there will be another protocol or another improvement protocol that will allow the unlocking of these assets, and it'll taper because they're aware of this. So these assets that are locked up right now will be tapering gradually into the ecosystem, which should temper sell pressure. And the other thing too is if people have been locking these assets up for years plus, they're probably unlikely to dump them. These are probably long-term holders. So I would not worry about that. I'm as bullish as ever on Ethereum. I just don't see a way in which Ethereum cannot succeed in the next 5 years. There's too much of a network effect. Well, people will say it's too expensive, but they're misunderstanding the point is that Ethereum really isn't for retail anymore. It's a settlement layer. It's for institutions. If you're moving millions of dollars as an institution, you're not going to care about paying the $30 fee. And if you're a retail guy like me, who's dinking and dunking with $500 to $1,000 orders, you got Polygon for that. You got layer twos, and they're working just fine. So FUSD, Fantom. I talked before, the very first story, about how crypto should be about decentralization and we shouldn't be looking to any one person as our salvation, etc. And I would say that this story troubles me because I don't know how to say this guy's name. I'll be frank. Andre Cronje. I've seen his name 1,000 times. I don't know how to say it. There's rumors that Andre, let's call him that, returns to Fantom. And this is, if you don't know, Andre is seen as this guru. He is seen as this value-creating machine in the Fantom ecosystem. He had left within the last 6 months. Now he's coming back, and everybody's bullish on it. Well, if you are only investing in a chain or an ecosystem because of one person, one point of failure, isn't that completely against the ethos of crypto? And wouldn't that maybe raise an alarm to you that you're entering into a cult of personality? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't money to be made in this because apes do what apes do, and that's ape into the popular thing. So maybe you can make money on Fantom. But as a fundamental long-term investor, I look at Fantom as such an inferior project to something like Polygon, right? Because who's involved with Polygon? I couldn't tell you. Polygon is doing well because Polygon has utility, it has user interface, it has user experience, because it has a network that people actually find enjoyable and have utility in. People are investing in Fantom because of a guy's name. Tread at your own risk. Also, Fantom released their own stablecoin. I believe it's algorithmic. Oh no, it is collateral backed. And their idea is that they're going to have a basket of goods that can use as collateral. And depending on the volatility of the asset, you have to put down different ratios. I think that's better than these algorithmic or debt backed stablecoins. I don't think it's as good as fiat backed stablecoins. But as long as it's over collateralized or collateralized in a conservative manner like DAI, I think it can be all right. Coinbase, baby. Coinbase has offered thousands of token expanded swap service. I believe they've opened up 2 new chains, the Binance chain, BNB, and Avalanche, to go along with Ethereum and Polygon, which allows for thousands of tokens to be swapped for. There was a story recently. Oh yeah, they have they're offering a self-custody wallet so customers can can have control of their keys. So Coinbase continuing to innovate, building during the bear. This is one of those entities. This is one of those projects that is proving utility long term. I would not sleep on Coinbase. I'm not a user myself, but this is a very user-friendly interface that a lot of, I would call, casuals or normies are very comfortable using. I know a lot of people who are really into DeFi and crypto kind of scoff at Coinbase because it's the newbie platform, but that's exactly who's going to use most of crypto, is the newbies, is the guy who just wants to do casual trading and not worry about much of anything. So good on Coinbase. And to illustrate the utility of Coinbase, Coinbase enters Fortune's 500's list of biggest US companies. This is no small feat. It is the first crypto-centric entity that reaches this list. Do not sleep on this. Think about 10 years ago, if someone had said to you, in 10 years, we will have a crypto entity in the Forbes 500. Pretty wild stuff. Good on Coinbase. Don't sleep on them. Don't sleep on the Coinbase. All right? I'll say it one more time. Don't sleep on the Coinbase. Also, don't sleep on this dude, Adam Neumann. Adam Neumann is infamous for his involvement in WeWork, which was a startup that he co-founded that he made a lot of money off of. There were some accusations, I think they're confirmed at this point, that he was extracting WeWork for money in possibly an unethical way. That's a commonly held viewpoint. I'm not going to weigh in on it because honestly, I don't know too much about him. I don't pay very much attention to single people. I'm going to be very honest with you. Whomever Adam Neumann is, I mean, it's good to know his background, but at the end of the day, the story is that he is backing a blockchain startup, Flow Carbon. He raised $7 million. This is something that I've been interested in. I've actually talked to Phil, who is who is operational lead of Flow Carbon, a good guy, by the way, and a project that I think has a lot of legs. Flow Carbon is going to be a carbon asset crypto project. They have a live two-way credit. Essentially, they have a Vera credit that can be put into a special SVP. I can never remember what it stands for. It's basically escrow. Special vehicle something. Oh man, it's going to kill me, you guys. I'm going to remember it and it's going to be too late. So $70 million. Now, Flow Carbon has raised $32 million from venture capital firms and has sold $38 million of the Goddess Nature token. The idea is you take carbon credits, you move them on-chain and create a Goddess Nature token, and that Goddess Nature token can also be moved off-chain. This is massive for the refi space, and yeah. So take a look at Flow Carbon. I will leave a link to their Discord as well, and say what's up. Say that I sent you. Say whatever you want. All right, and the final story, it's a good story. Grayscale wants to convince you, the SEC, to approve its Bitcoin spot ETF. And the final story is Grayscale wants to convince you to, And the final story is Grayscale wants you to convince the SEC to approve a ETF for Bitcoin, a spot ETF. So currently the United States does not have a spot ETF for Bitcoin. Australia does, Canada does. I'm sure some other countries do. We have a futures ETF, but a spot ETF would allow institutional money to get exposure to Bitcoin without having to custody it. This would open up a deluge. This would open up a flood, a biblical event of money into the space. There are so many institutions that want exposure to Bitcoin, but because of the complexity of custodying it themselves cannot do it. This would be massive. So I believe what the Grayscale was doing is they had QR codes that you could scan, and it would bring you right to the page to give a comment to the SEC. That's the way it works. You put in a request, and then it's in an open proposal stage where everybody can give requests on it. And I'm sure they're getting a lot of support because a lot of people want this, because as a retail investor, it is good for you or I if institutional money moves into this because it pumps our bags. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages. That is Today in Crypto. I hope you found it educational and entertainment. And if you did, leave a like, a subscribe, even share it. Leave a comment. Say what's up. Tell me whatever you want. I will catch you all in the next one. Remember, above all else, to ape responsibly, would you? Peace, dudes and dudettes.